Good morning, students. Welcome to the lecture series of soft computing. In soft computing, we are discussing fuzzy logic. In my previous lecture, I have discussed about the propositional logic and the inference of the propositional logic. Now, in today's lecture, I am going to discuss the predicate logic and the inference in the predicate logic. Now, let's discuss what is a predicate logic. A predicate logic is defined as a part of a declarative sentence describing the properties of an object or relation among objects is called a predicate. For example, here is a student represents a predicate. Sentences involving predicate describing the properties of object are denoted by P of X. Here P represents the predicate and X is a variable denoting any object. Now let's understand this with an example. Here we have a P of X which represent X is a student. So here X is a variable and is a student represents the predicate. Generally, the propositional statements can be either true or false. But in the real world problem, the propositional logic fails to meet the expectations because there are many statements in the real world which cannot be represented using a propositional logic because it lacks quantification. For example, let's see, we have a two statement. One is P and the another is Q. P is like all men are strong. Socrates is a man. Then from these two statements, yes, you can infer that Socrates is also strong. आपके पास दो प्रपोजिशन है, एक P है and Q. P states that all men are strong और Q states that Socrates is a man. तो इस दोनों प्रपोजिशन को देख करके हम बोल सकते हैं, इन दोनों स्टेटमेंट को हम देख करके बोल सकते हैं कि yes, Socrates is also strong. But when we see the proposition P and Q, they are unable to meet the expectations. We cannot infer anything from the proposition P and Q. So we need to represent all this statement in the form of a predicate logic. The reason behind that we cannot represent it using a propositional logic is that the propositional logic lacks the ability to symbolize the quantification. Now, what is this quantification? I am going to discuss the quantification in the coming slides. Now, a predicate logic can be represented using connectives and the propositions. Also, we need to include constant, variable, predicate, quantifiers, functions. So, apart from including the connectives and the proposition, we also have to describe the constant, variable, predicate, quantifiers, functions in order to describe a predicate logic. So one by one we will understand कि constant क्या होता है, variable क्या होता है, predicate क्या है, quantifier क्या है और function क्या होता है. So let's understand first what is a constant. Actually, a constant represents the object which do not change its value. The value of the constant will remain same throughout. For example, let's see, if I have taken pencil, Ram, Sita, Geeta, the value of this will remain same. It will not change. Now next we have a variable. Now, variable are the symbols which represent values acquired by the objects as qualified by the quantifier with which they are associated with. Actually, variables are those symbols which are acquired by the objects. For example, x, y, z are the variable. Now come to the predicate. What is a predicate? Predicates are representative of association between the object that are constant or variable and acquire truth value. For to be a predicate, it is very important to show the association between the objects, or these objects can be constant or variable. और second thing is that कि वो state में वो जो predicate है that must have a truth value. Either it can be true or a false. A predicate carries a name representing the association followed by its argument representing the object to it is to associate. Now, let's see how we can describe a predicate. Now, here the like is a predicate and the variables and the here we have a two constant, that is Ram and T. So how we will describe this? This statement is a predicate. So it means Ram likes T. The statement Ram likes tea can be represented in the form of a predicate in this way. This shows the relationship among the object, and here we have two objects, Ram and tea. So a predicate is used to show the association between the object, and this object can be a variable or a constant. Here the both Ram and tea are constant. Now next we will learn the quantifiers. In predicate logic, it is very important to include the quantifiers. ये quantifiers ही हैं जो predicate logic और propositional logic को differentiate करते हैं. Quantifiers available नहीं है propositional logic में, while predicate logic में ये quantifiers available हैं. Okay, now let's try to learn what do you mean by a quantifiers. Now, quantifiers are the symbol which indicate two types of quantification. The first symbol is your all, and the second one is for some. In real world problem, there are many statements which are represented in the form of a all and in the form of a some. So, we cannot represent this statement using a propositional logic. So, we require the quantification, or we require the quantifiers to represent all those sentences. So, here for all is a universal quantifier, while some is a existential quantifier. Now let's see how we use this quantifier. In my next slide, or in my next session, I am going to discuss the quantifiers with an example.